Most people are not distracted because life is too loud. They are distracted because they never decided what truly matters. Every single day, you wake up with real potential sitting inside you. You have goals that genuinely excite you. You have a vision for your life that feels important and worth fighting for. But somewhere between the morning alarm and the evening hours, that potential gets swallowed by noise, interruptions, and endless scrolling that leads absolutely nowhere. A focused mind is not born. It is built, one deliberate choice at a time. In this video, you will learn 10 powerful ways to train your mind, protect your time, guard your energy, and work with a level of focus that most people will never experience in their entire lives. If you are ready to stop letting distractions steal your best years and start building the life you actually want, then watch every second of this video without skipping a thing. Number 1, train your mind to ignore everything. Most people are not failing because they lack talent. Most people are not struggling because they lack opportunity. Most people are losing the battle because their mind is scattered in 100 different directions at once. Every single day, there are thousands of things pulling at your attention. Your phone buzzes. Someone calls your name. A notification pops up. A conversation starts. And before you even realize it, you're gone. You did not lose your focus in one big dramatic moment. You lost it in tiny, quiet, unnoticed seconds throughout the day. And those seconds, when added together, become the difference between a life you are proud of and a life you simply survived. Here's something most people never stop to think about. Your mind is not naturally built for deep focus. It is built for survival. It is constantly scanning the environment for anything new, anything loud, anything that moves. Back when humans lived in the wild, that made sense. A sudden sound could mean danger. A movement in the trees could mean a threat. Your brain had to pay attention to everything because everything could matter. But that was then. Right now, in your daily life, most of what your brain is reacting to does not matter. That notification from a stranger online does not matter. That gossip someone is spreading does not matter. That trending video that everyone is watching does not matter to your goals. Your brain does not know the difference unless you teach it. And that is exactly what training your mind means. You are teaching your brain what is real and what is just noise. Training your mind is not a passive process. It is not something that happens by accident. You do not wake up one day with a focused mind just because you wanted it. You build it. You practice it. Every single morning when you choose to sit down and work instead of reaching for your phone. You are training your mind. Every time you feel the urge to check social media during your work hours, and you choose not to, you are training your mind. Every time someone tries to drag you into a pointless conversation, and you politely walk away, these small choices do not feel like much in the moment. But over days, over weeks, over months, they stack up into something powerful. They become a habit. And habits become automatic. And when ignoring distractions becomes automatic, your focus becomes dangerous. Let me tell you what happens inside your brain when you keep switching your attention from one thing to another. Scientists call it cognitive switching cost. Every single time you shift your focus from your work to something else, and then back again, your brain needs time to warm up again. That warm-up period can take anywhere from 10 to 20 minutes. That means if you check your phone 5 times during a 2-hour work session, you may have actually done less than 30 minutes of real productive work. You were physically present for 2 hours, but your brain was never fully in the room. This is why so many hardworking people feel exhausted at the end of the day, but have almost nothing meaningful to show for it. They were busy, but they were not focused. And busy without focus is just motion without direction. Now, I want you to understand something very important about what does not matter. This is not about judging other people's choices. This is about being honest with yourself, about what is actually moving your life forward and what is just filling your time. There is a difference between activity and progress. There is a difference between being entertained and being educated. There is a difference between reacting to the world and intentionally building something in it. Most people spend the majority of their day in reaction mode. Something happens and they react. Someone posts something and they react. A news story breaks and they react. And all of that reacting keeps them too busy to ever act on their own goals. You cannot build something meaningful while you are constantly responding to other people's emergencies, opinions, and entertainment. Here's a practical approach that will immediately change how your mind operates. Every morning before you do anything else, write down the 3 most important things you need to accomplish that day. Not 10 things, not a long list, just 3. Look at that list. And then make a decision. Every task, every conversation, every distraction that tries to enter your day gets measured against that list. If it is not connected to those 3 things, it does not get your attention right now. This simple filter changes everything, because suddenly your mind has a clear answer for every distraction. The answer is not yet. The answer is not today. The answer is, this does not belong in my focused hours. And when your mind knows the answer in advance, it does not have to debate the distraction. It does not have to negotiate with itself. It already decided that pre-decision is one of the most powerful tools for training your focus. Now let us talk about the emotional side of this, because ignoring distractions is not just a mental challenge. It is an emotional one too. When you start pulling your attention away from social media, away from constant conversations, away from the noise of other people's lives, something uncomfortable happens. You start to feel like you are missing out. You feel like everyone else is connected and you are becoming invisible. You feel a quiet anxiety, like the world is moving and you are standing still. That feeling is real. It is not imaginary. But here is what you need to understand about that feeling. It is a signal that your brain is adjusting. It is the feeling of withdrawal from distraction. And just like any withdrawal, it is temporary. The discomfort passes. But the clarity that comes after it does not pass. Once your mind adjusts to operating without constant stimulation, you begin to feel something you may not have felt in years. You feel present. You feel sharp. You feel like you are actually living your life instead of just watching it through a screen. There is also a social element that nobody talks about, honestly enough. When you decide to stay focused, some people around you will not understand it. They will invite you to waste time and you will say no. They will share gossip and you will not engage. They will wonder why you seem different, why you seem quieter, why you seem more serious. And some of them will take it personally. This is one of the hardest parts of training your mind, because the people who distract you the most are often people you care about. But here is the truth you have to hold on to. You are not rejecting them. You are protecting something precious inside yourself. You are protecting your time, your energy, and your direction. A person who cares about you will eventually respect that. A person who only valued your presence as an audience for their distraction will eventually move on. And when they do, your environment becomes cleaner, quieter, and far more productive. Let me give you a real understanding of how attention works on a deeper psychological level. Psychologists talk about something called attentional residue. When you leave a task unfinished and move to something else, part of your attention stays behind on the unfinished task. You are physically doing something new, but mentally you are still partially attached to what you left behind. This is why multitasking never actually works. You are never fully present in either task. You are always partially somewhere else. The only way to achieve full mental presence is to finish what you started before you move on, or at minimum, to consciously close the mental loop by writing down where you left off so your brain can release it. This one practice alone can dramatically increase the quality of your thinking and the speed at which you complete meaningful work. Training your mind to ignore what does not matter is ultimately an act of self-respect. It is you looking at your own life and saying that your goals are real. It is you deciding that your time has genuine value. It is you choosing to honor the vision you have for yourself by protecting the mental space required to build it. Every person who ever built something great had to make this choice. Not once, but every single day they woke up and chose focus over comfort. They chose depth over distraction. They chose their own mission over other people's noise. And slowly, steadily, powerfully, their focused effort compounded into results that most distracted people could not even imagine achieving. You have that same capacity inside you. The question is whether you are willing to train for it the way it deserves to be trained. Your mind is the most powerful tool you will ever own. But like any tool, it only performs at its highest level when it is sharp, clean, and used with intention. A scattered mind produces scattered results. A trained mind produces extraordinary results. And the training starts with one simple but demanding decision, made every single day. The decision to give your full, complete, undivided attention to what truly matters and to look everything else directly in the face. Number 2, build a daily routine that protects your focus completely. Most people wake up every morning and let the day decide what happens to them. They open their eyes, reach for their phone, scroll through notifications, respond to messages, watch what everyone else is doing, and before they have even eaten breakfast, their mind is already fragmented into 15 different directions. By the time they sit down to do something meaningful, their mental energy is already half gone. This is not a productivity problem. This is a structure problem. When you do not have a routine that is designed to protect your focus, every single hour of your day becomes a negotiation between your goals and everything else fighting for your attention. And in that negotiation, your goals usually lose because distractions are louder, faster, and more immediately satisfying than the slow, quiet work of building something real. A daily routine is not a rigid prison. I want to make that clear right from the beginning, because a lot of people resist routines because they feel like they take away freedom. But here is what I've come to understand. After studying people who produce extraordinary results consistently over long periods of time, structure creates freedom. When your morning is predictable, your mind does not have to spend energy deciding what comes next. When you know exactly what your first 3 hours look like, you do not waste 30 minutes figuring out where to start. And that mental clarity you preserve by not making small decisions is the exact same mental clarity you use to do your best, most focused work. Every decision your brain makes costs energy. A good routine eliminates dozens of small unnecessary decisions before noon. Let me share something that most people overlook entirely. Your focus is not evenly distributed throughout the day. Research in cognitive science consistently shows that most people experience their sharpest, most alert mental state within the first 2 to 4 hours after waking up. Your brain is freshest. Your willpower is at its peak. Your ability to think deeply and solve complex problems is at its highest. This is the window that most people fill with email, social media, news, and other people's priorities. And once that window closes, it does not come back the same way until the next morning. Building a routine that places your most important, most demanding work inside that peak window is one of the smartest decisions you can make for your focus. You are not working harder. You are working with your biology instead of against it. Now, here is something I personally believe very strongly. The first hour of your morning sets the psychological tone. If you begin your morning in a reactive state, scrolling and consuming and responding, your brain learns that the morning is a time for reaction, and it will stay in that reactive mode throughout the day, because that is the pattern you established in the first 60 minutes. But if you begin your morning with intention, with your own thoughts, your own goals, your own quiet, deliberate action, your brain learns that the morning is a time for creation. That shift from reactive to creative in the early hours is one of the most underestimated changes a person can make to their entire life. The type of morning you build becomes the type of person you become over time. Let me give you a practical and honest breakdown of what a focus-protecting routine actually looks like in real life. It does not have to be complicated. It does not require waking up at 4 a.m. if that is not realistic for you. What it requires is intentionality. The moment you wake up, before you touch your phone, Spend at least 10 to 15 minutes in silence or with very light movement. Let your mind arrive fully into the day without immediately flooding it with external information. Then, write down your top priorities for the day. Not your full task list, just the 1, 2, or 3 things that will make this day genuinely meaningful and productive. These become the anchors of your day. Everything that tries to enter your schedule gets measured against those anchors. If it does not serve those priorities, it waits until your focused hours are complete. One of the most powerful and underused tools for protecting focus within a daily routine is what psychologists call time blocking. Instead of having a vague plan to work on something today, you assign specific tasks to specific time slots. From 8 a.m. to 10 a.m., you work on one specific thing and nothing else. No emails during that block. No calls during that block. No quick questions from colleagues or family members during that block. That 2-hour block is sacred. When people first try this, they feel uncomfortable. They feel like they are being rigid or antisocial. But what they quickly discover is that 2 focused hours produce more real output than an entire scattered 8-hour day. The quality of focused work is so much higher than the quality of interrupted work that the difference in results feels almost unbelievable until you experience it yourself. I want to address something that many motivational conversations skip over completely. A routine that protects your focus also has to include deliberate rest. Your brain is a biological organ. It gets tired. It loses sharpness after sustained effort. If you try to maintain peak focus for 10 straight hours, you will not get 10 hours of quality work. You will get about 2 hours of real quality followed by 8 hours of slowly degrading output while you pretend to work. Building structured breaks into your routine is not weakness. It is science. Short breaks of 10 to 15 minutes after every 60 to 90 minutes of focused work allow your brain to recover and return to the next block with genuine clarity. People who honor this rhythm consistently outperform people who try to grind through without stopping. Here is another layer that most people do not think about when building their daily routine. Your environment and your routine are deeply connected. You can design the perfect schedule on paper, but if your physical space is full of visual clutter, noise, and constant interruptions, your routine will collapse under the pressure of that environment. A workspace that is clean, organized, and quiet sends a clear message to your brain. This is a place for serious work. This is a place for focus. Contrast that with trying to do your most important work from a couch surrounded by noise and mess. Your brain picks up on those environmental cues and adjusts your mental state accordingly. Designing your physical space as part of your daily routine is not optional. It is essential. Let me also talk about the evening routine, because most people only think about mornings when they discuss structure and focus. But how you end your day has a direct impact on how focused you are the next morning. When you close your workday without any clear ritual or transition, your brain continues processing unfinished thoughts and unresolved tasks throughout the night. You may sleep for 8 hours but wake up feeling like you never fully rested. A simple evening closing routine changes this completely. Before you stop working, spend 5 minutes writing down what you finished today and what the priority is for tomorrow. This simple act signals to your brain that the day is complete. The unfinished items are documented. There is nothing left to keep processing. Your mind can actually rest, and when your mind rests properly, the next morning's focus comes naturally and powerfully. I want to give you my honest opinion on why most people never build and stick to a focus-protecting routine. It is not because they do not know they need one. Most people reading this already know routines are important. The real reason people fail to build routines is because a routine requires them to say no repeatedly. It requires saying no to staying up late watching random content. It requires saying no to the morning scroll. It requires saying no to unplanned meetings and casual interruptions during focused hours. And saying no feels uncomfortable. It feels selfish. It feels antisocial. But here is what I want you to sit with for a moment. Every time you say yes to a distraction, You are saying no to your own potential. Every morning you give away to reaction. You are trading your best hours for someone else's timeline. The routine is not about being rigid. The routine is about being intentional with the one resource you can never replace. Your time, a daily routine that truly protects your focus, is one of the most powerful acts of self-discipline you will ever develop. It takes weeks to build. It takes patience to refine. There will be days it breaks down, and you have to rebuild it the next morning without guilt. But every day you return to it, you are making a statement. You are saying that your goals are worth protecting. You are saying that your attention has real value. You are saying that you are serious about the life you are trying to build. And over time, that seriousness compounds into results that will genuinely surprise you. Number 3, remove every distraction from your environment before you start. Before you type a single word, before you open a single file, before you begin the most important work of your day, take an honest look at the space around you. What do you see? Is your phone sitting face up on the desk? Are there open tabs on your browser that have nothing to do with what you are about to work on? Is there background noise coming from a television in the next room? Is your workspace cluttered with items that have no connection to your current task? Most people sit down to do serious work inside an environment that is actively working against them. And then they wonder why they cannot focus. The environment was never set up for focus. And you cannot produce your best thinking inside a space that is constantly competing for your attention. Here is something I want you to really understand about the relationship between your environment and your brain. Your brain does not operate in isolation. It is constantly reading the room. Every object in your visual field sends a small signal to your brain. A pile of unread mail signals, unfinished business, an open social media tab, a phone on the desk signals potential interruption. A messy workspace signals disorder and low priority. These signals are not dramatic. They are quiet and subtle. But they add up into a constant low-level mental tension that drains your focus before you even begin working. Scientists who study attention call this environmental load. The more your environment demands from your attention, the less cognitive energy you have available for actual productive work. Cleaning up your space is not just about aesthetics. It is about reducing the invisible mental weight that cluttered environments place on your brain. Let me be very direct about something that people often underestimate. Your phone is the single most powerful distraction ever created in human history. It is specifically engineered by some of the smartest people on earth to capture and hold your attention as long as possible. Every sound, every vibration, every notification badge is designed to create a small but powerful urge to check. And each time you check, even for 30 seconds, your focus breaks completely. Research has shown that simply having your phone visible on your desk reduces your cognitive code. Your brain is partially aware of it. Part of your mental bandwidth is quietly devoted to monitoring it. Removing your phone entirely from your workspace before you begin working is not an extreme measure. It is a basic requirement for doing real focused work in the modern world. Now, I want to give you a very practical and honest look at what removing digital distractions actually means in your daily workflow. It goes beyond putting your phone in another room. It means closing every browser tab that is not directly related to the task you are working on right now. It means turning off desktop notifications from email, messaging apps, and news platforms during your focused work hours. It means using tools that block distracting websites if you know you have a habit of drifting to them. It means being ruthlessly intentional about what is allowed to exist on your screen while you work. Every open tab is a possible exit door from your focus. Every visible notification is an invitation to leave the task you are doing and go somewhere less demanding. Your digital environment needs to be curated just as carefully as your physical one. Let me add something here that most people never hear in conversations about focus and productivity. Sound is one of the most underestimated environmental distractions there is. You might think you have learned to work through background noise, but what is actually happening is that your brain is spending energy managing and filtering that noise. Conversations happening nearby are particularly disruptive because your brain is wired to process language. Even if you are not consciously listening, part of your auditory processing system is always decoding nearby speech. This is an automatic function of the brain. It does not ask your permission. This is why working in a space with conversations happening nearby always costs you some degree of mental clarity, even when you feel like you are focused. If silence is not available to you, using noise-canceling headphones or playing consistent low-level background sound like white noise or instrumental music at a steady volume can help your brain settle into a more focused state. I also want to address the internal environment because this is something almost nobody talks about when discussing distraction removal. Your physical space can be perfectly clean and quiet, but if you sit down to work with emotional noise inside your head, that internal distraction is just as damaging as any external one. If you're sitting down to work while mentally replaying an argument you had earlier, or anxiously thinking about a problem you have not yet solved, or feeling overwhelmed by a long list of unfinished responsibilities, that inner noise will interrupt your focus just as effectively as any phone notification. A simple practice before you begin working is to spend 2 to 3 minutes writing down everything that is currently on your mind, not to solve it, just to get it out of your head and onto paper. This process, which psychologists call an expressive writing exercise or a brain dump, temporarily clears the internal clutter and allows your mind to be genuinely present for the work in front of you. Here's my personal opinion on this, and I hold it firmly. Most people treat distraction removal as optional. They think that if they are disciplined enough and motivated enough, they can push through a distracting environment using sheer willpower. And sometimes they can, for a short time. But willpower is a limited daily resource. When you force your brain to fight the environment for hours, instead of simply fixing the environment, you are wasting your willpower on a battle that you should have prevented before it started. A professional athlete does not run a race in shoes that do not fit and rely on mental toughness to compensate. They fix the equipment before the race begins. Your environment is your equipment. Fix it before you start, and then use your willpower for the actual work that matters. One more layer that deserves serious attention is the people in your environment. Physical clutter and digital notifications are obvious distractions, but the people around you during your focused work hours can be the most challenging distraction of all, especially because saying no to a person feels much harder than closing a browser tab. If you work from home, the people you live with may not understand the difference between you being physically present and you being mentally available. They see you sitting there, so they assume you are free to talk, to help, to answer questions, to give opinions. You have to proactively communicate your focused work hours to the people in your space. Not once, regularly and clearly. You have to establish visible signals that tell them without words that this time is protected. A closed door, headphones on, a simple sign on your desk. These are not rude gestures. They are professional boundaries that protect your ability to produce meaningful work. Let me also bring up something that ties the physical and psychological sides of this together in a way that I think is genuinely important. When you take the time to prepare your environment before you begin working, something happens beyond just reducing distractions. You send a message to yourself. The act of clearing your desk, silencing your phone, closing unnecessary tabs, and creating a clean and intentional workspace tells your own brain that what you are about to do is serious and important. It creates a psychological state of readiness. Your body posture changes slightly. Your breathing slows. Your mental focus begins to narrow onto the task before you have even started it. This preparatory ritual is not wasted time. It is an investment in the quality of the work that follows. People who consistently prepare their environment before working consistently produce better results than people who dive in unprepared. There's a real cost to ignoring this. Every distraction you allow to remain in your environment has a price. That price is paid in the quality of your thinking, in the time you spend recovering your focus after each interruption, and in the growing frustration of working hard for hours and having little meaningful output to show for it. You sit down with genuine intention to do great work. You want to focus. You want to produce something you are proud of. But the environment keeps pulling you away from that intention. And over time, the repeated experience of wanting to focus but failing to focus starts to erode your confidence in your own ability to do deep work. You start to believe that maybe you are just not a focused person, but that belief is wrong. You are not unfocused. You are just working inside an environment that was never designed to support focus. Change the environment, and you change the results entirely. Number 4, set one clear goal and pursue it without stopping. There is a particular kind of exhaustion that has nothing to do with working too hard. It is the exhaustion that comes from working on too many things at once and making real progress on none of them. You know this feeling? You have a list of goals. You want to get fit. You want to build a business. You want to learn a new skill. You want to improve your finances. You want to read more books. You want to spend more quality time with the people you care about. All of these things matter to you. All of them feel urgent. And so you split your energy across all of them, giving each one a fraction of your attention, a fraction of your effort, and a fraction of your time. Weeks pass. Months pass. And when you look at each goal individually, almost nothing has moved. Not because you were lazy, because you were divided. And a divided person cannot produce undivided results. Here is a truth that cuts straight to the heart of why most people never achieve the things they genuinely want. The human brain is extraordinarily powerful when it is pointed at one thing. When your full attention, your daily energy, your creative thinking, and your emotional commitment are all aimed at a single clear goal, you become a completely different kind of person. You notice opportunities related to that goal that you would have walked past before. Your conversations naturally move toward things that help that goal. Your decisions become faster and cleaner because you have one clear filter. But when your attention is spread across 5 or 6 goals simultaneously, none of them receive enough consistent focus to generate real momentum. Momentum requires repetition. Repetition requires time. And time requires choosing one thing over everything else for a sustained period. I want to challenge something that gets repeated constantly in conversations about ambition and success. People are told to dream big, to have multiple income streams, to pursue several passions, to never put all their eggs in one basket. And while there's a time and a place for diversification, the problem is that most people apply that advice too early. They diversify before they have mastered anything. They spread before they have depth. They branch out before they have roots. The people you admire most in any field, the ones who built something genuinely significant, almost always did it by focusing intensely on one thing for a long time before they expanded. Their breadth came after their depth. Their diversification came after their mastery. Setting one clear goal and pursuing it without stopping is not a limiting strategy. It is the strategy that creates the foundation for everything else. Now, let me give you something concrete and practical to work with. Setting one clear goal does not mean picking something vague, like wanting to be successful or wanting to be healthier. Vague goals produce vague effort and vague results. A clear goal has specific dimensions. You know exactly what you are working toward. You know what it looks like when you achieve it. You know the primary actions that move you toward it every single day. And you know the approximate time frame you are working within. When a goal has those qualities, your brain can actually organize itself around it. It knows what winning looks like, It knows what effort is required. It knows what daily progress feels like. Without that clarity, your brain cannot fully commit because it does not know what it is committing to. Specificity is not a small detail in goal setting. It is the entire foundation. Let me add a layer here that most people never hear about. And I believe it is one of the most psychologically important aspects of pursuing a single goal without stopping. When you commit to one goal completely, you will experience a period of discomfort that feels like doubt. In the early weeks of focused pursuit, you will look around and see other people working on things that look exciting. You will see opportunities that seem relevant, but are slightly off course from your main goal. You will have ideas that pull you in different directions, and your mind will present all of this as evidence that maybe you chose the wrong goal, or maybe you should pivot, or maybe there is something better waiting for you elsewhere. This feeling is not a signal to change direction. It is the natural resistance that comes with deep commitment. Every person who has ever achieved something significant has felt this exact discomfort. The ones who pushed through it are the ones who succeeded. The ones who interpreted it as a sign to switch goals, started over from zero, and felt the same discomfort again with the new goal. Here's something I think about deeply when it comes to the psychology of pursuing a goal without stopping. Stopping is rarely a single dramatic decision. Almost nobody wakes up one morning and decides to quit their goal all at once. What actually happens is a slow series of small compromises. You skip one day of working toward your goal because something came up. Then you skip another day because you are tired. Then you spend a week working on something else because it feels urgent. Then you go back to your goal, but with less energy and less belief than you had before. And eventually, the goal is still technically on your list, but you are no longer genuinely pursuing it. It faded slowly. Pursuing a goal without stopping means being aware of this pattern and refusing to let those small compromises accumulate. It means treating your daily effort toward your goal as a commitment that is not negotiable, not something you do when it is convenient. I want to be honest with you about something that rarely gets said out loud. Some goals take much longer than you expect. When you first set a clear goal with real excitement and genuine commitment, you have a mental timeline in your head. You imagine where you will be in 3 months, in 6 months, in a year. And when reality does not match that internal timeline, the emotional impact is real and significant. You feel behind. You feel like something is wrong with your approach. You start to question whether the goal is even realistic. And this moment right here is where most people make their biggest mistake. They interpret the longer than expected timeline as evidence that the goal is not achievable for them. But a delayed result is not a failed result. Progress that is slower than expected is still progress. The goal did not move. You are still getting closer every single day you keep going. The timeline changed, but the dot. Let me offer you a completely different way to think about what it means to pursue a goal without stopping. Most people measure their progress by looking at how far they still have to go. They look at the gap between where they are now and where they want to be. And that gap feels discouraging. I want you to flip that completely. Measure your progress by looking at how far you have already come. Look back at where you were 3 months ago. Look at what you did not know then that you know now. Look at the skills you did not have then that you are building now. Look at the habits that did not exist then that are part of your daily life now. That backward view shows you something that the forward view hides from you. It shows you that you're already in motion. You are already moving, and something that is already in motion is infinitely easier to keep moving. There is also an emotional component to pursuing one goal without stopping that deserves honest discussion. When you commit fully to a single goal, your identity begins to shift around that goal. You start to see yourself as the kind of person who does this work. You start to feel a quiet pride in the consistency of your effort, separate from whether you have reached the finish line yet. That identity shift is enormously powerful because it changes your relationship with the daily work. It is no longer just a task you have to complete. It becomes an expression of who you are. And when the daily work becomes part of your identity, stopping feels wrong. Not just strategically wrong, personally wrong, like a betrayal of yourself. That is the level of commitment you are building toward when you set one clear goal and pursue it with everything you have. My honest opinion on why people avoid setting one clear goal and instead juggle many is this. Choosing one goal means accepting that you are temporarily saying no to other possibilities. And that feels like loss. It feels like you are closing doors. But what those people are missing is that spreading yourself across many things keeps every door slightly open and gets you fully through none of them. The most powerful position you can be in is fully through one door, standing on the other side of a real accomplishment, with the experience, the skills, and the confidence that only complete follow-through can give you. That is not limitation. That is the foundation from which everything else becomes genuinely possible. Your goal deserves your full presence, not the leftover attention after everything else has taken its piece, not the energy you have remaining at the end of a scattered and unfocused day. Your goal deserves the best hours of your day, the clearest thinking you have, and the most consistent effort you can give. When you make that decision, when you genuinely make it and live by it, the goal stops being a distant wish and starts becoming an inevitable destination. Number 5, treat your time like it is your most valuable asset. If someone walked into your home right now and started taking things from you, you would stop them immediately. You would feel violated. You would feel angry. You would do everything in your power to protect what belongs to you. But every single day, people walk into your life and take something far more valuable than any object you own. And most people let it happen without any resistance at all. They take your time. A colleague pulls you into a 40-minute conversation that had no real purpose. A family member calls during your most productive hours, and you pick up because you feel obligated. You sit down to check one notification, and 45 minutes disappear into a stream of content that added nothing to your life. Nobody forced you. Nobody broke in. You gave your time away freely, casually, without calculating the real cost of what you were handing over. And that is the quiet tragedy that most people never fully examine. Time is the only resource in your life that operates with complete equality. Every person alive gets the same 24 hours each day. The billionaire gets 24 hours. The struggling student gets 24 hours. The highly productive person and the chronically distracted person both start each morning with the exact same deposit. What separates their lives is not the amount of time they receive. It is the value they assign to that time and the decisions they make as a result of that value. When you genuinely believe that your time is your most important asset, every hour becomes a serious decision. You stop letting time drift through your fingers carelessly. You start asking a real and honest question about every commitment, every request, and every activity that wants a piece of your day. Is this worth what it is going to cost me? Here is something that I find deeply important and that most people have never been taught to think about clearly. Time has a compounding nature, just like money. An hour spent today doing meaningful, focused work on your most important goal does not just produce 1 hour of progress. It produces skills, knowledge, momentum, and opportunities that build on each other over time. 1 hour of focused writing practice today makes tomorrow's writing session slightly better. 1 hour of deliberate skill building today makes next month's work slightly faster and higher quality. Over years, those compounding hours create a gap between people that looks almost impossible to explain. Two people start with similar abilities and similar circumstances. 10 years later, one has built something remarkable, and the other is still in roughly the same place. The difference is almost never talent. It is almost always how consistently they treated their daily hours as something worth protecting and investing wisely. Let me be very specific about what treating your time as your most valuable asset actually looks like in practice, because this is not an abstract idea. It is a behavioral standard. It means you do not agree to meetings without knowing exactly what the meeting is for and what your specific role in it is. It means you do not scroll through social media during hours that belong to your priorities. It means you have a clear answer ready when someone asks for your time during your focused work blocks. That answer is not a complicated negotiation. It is a simple, respectful, firm redirection. It means you review your calendar and your commitments regularly and ask honestly whether each one is worth the time it costs you. People who treat their time as precious do not do this occasionally. They do it as a consistent standard of how they operate every single day. I want to address something that creates a deep internal conflict for a lot of people around this topic. Saying no to requests for your time can feel selfish. When someone you care about asks for your time and you redirect them, a part of you feels guilty. When a colleague needs help and you protect your focused hours instead of stopping to assist, it feels unkind. Society teaches us from a very early age that being available to others is a virtue, that giving your time freely is generous and good, and generosity is genuinely valuable. But there is a critical distinction that almost nobody makes clearly. There is a difference between intentional generosity, where you consciously choose to give your time to something or someone because it aligns with your values, and unconscious surrender, where you give your time away simply because someone asked for it and you did not have the clarity or the confidence to protect it. Intentional generosity makes you feel fulfilled. Unconscious surrender makes you feel drained, resentful, and behind on everything that matters to you. Now, let me bring in a psychological dimension that adds real depth to this conversation. Researchers who study human behavior and decision-making have found something fascinating about the way people think about time versus money. When people consider spending money, they tend to evaluate the cost carefully. They compare prices. They think about whether something is worth what it costs. But when people consider spending time, they are far less careful. They say yes to things quickly. They underestimate how long things will take. They do not calculate the opportunity cost of choosing one activity over another. This is called temporal discounting, and it means that people consistently undervalue time in the present moment compared to how they value it in retrospect. Nobody lies on their deathbed wishing they had spent more time in pointless meetings or scrolling through other people's highlight reels. They wish they had protected their hours more fiercely and spent them on what genuinely matters. Here is something I personally believe with complete conviction. The way a person spends their first 2 hours after waking up is one of the most accurate predictors of how that person's life will develop over the next 5 years. Those early hours, when your mind is freshest and the world has not yet made its demands on you, are the most valuable hours of the entire day. What you pour them into shapes your skills, your mindset, your creative capacity, and your forward momentum. People who spend those hours consuming news, scrolling social feeds, reacting to other people's communications, and easing into the day without intention are investing their most valuable daily asset into things that return almost nothing of substance. People who spend those hours building, creating, learning, and working on their most important goal are making an investment that pays increasing returns over time. The hours are the same. The return is dramatically different. Let me also talk about the hidden cost of wasted time that nobody calculates honestly. When you spend an hour doing something that does not serve your goals, you are not just losing that hour, you are also losing the mental momentum that hour could have built. You are losing the small progress that could have compounded. You are losing the confidence that comes from consistent forward movement. And you are also, in a very real psychological sense, reinforcing the identity of someone who does not protect their time. Because every time you give your hours away carelessly, your subconscious registers that your time must not be very valuable, because you keep treating it that way. And over time, that registered belief shapes how you carry yourself, how seriously you take your own goals, and how much self-respect you bring to the daily decisions about where your hours go. One of the most practical tools I can offer you for genuinely treating your time as your most valuable asset is a weekly time audit. At the end of each week, before the new week begins, sit down with a piece of paper and reconstruct where your time actually went. Not where you intended it to go, where it actually went. Most people who do this exercise for the first time are genuinely shocked by what they find. Hours that they thought were being spent productively were actually being fragmented by interruptions, small distractions, and low-value activities that felt productive but were not actually moving anything forward. The time audit does not make you feel guilty. It makes you feel clear. It shows you exactly where your most valuable asset is leaking, and it gives you the specific information you need to plug those leaks in the week ahead. I also want you to think about something that goes deeper than productivity and time management strategies. Treating your time as your most valuable asset is ultimately a statement about how much you value your own life. Every hour of your life is a piece of your existence. It is not renewable. It cannot be borrowed, stored, or reclaimed once it passes. When you allow your hours to be consumed by things that do not matter, you are not just losing productivity.